Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Higher or Lower, brought to you by oddschecker, Sporty Index and Spreadex. This is the show where we look ahead to the weekend's football, mainly in the Premier League, and we look at the spread betting markets with Spreadex and Sporty Index and the midpoint and say if we think the result will be higher or lower. I'm your host, George Ellick, delighted to be joined by two esteemed guests, Dan Worth and
mate.
Jack Wright.
Steam is true.
Esteemed.
Oh, esteemed.
Yeah,
Right,
not steamed.
No,
I
steamed.
don't know what you've been up to in the international break.
Standard, usual stuff.
Yeah, steam room. How was your international break?
Fine,
What
flew
did you get
by.
up to?
I actually don't really know. I went to Liverpool for the weekend actually.
Don't know.
I watched the two England games.
What did you do in Liverpool?
Had a few beers.
Is that all you did? Is why you went?
Pretty much, actually, I had a few Guinness.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Nice.
Why did you go to Liverpool?
It was one of my good friends' housewarming. They
Nice.
bought a house in Liverpool.
Lovely. Whereabouts?
Right on the docks, right on the Albert Docks. Well, just to the side of it.
Brilliant.
So it's quite
a
nice.
great place.
It's lovely, yeah. And
Have you ever done Grand National Day in Liverpool?
I haven't. No, I probably would enjoy it. I've done Champions League final day in Liverpool when Liverpool were in the Champions League final.
That's
that was
fun.
pretty good.
Yeah.
And the Guinness is quite significantly
So
cheaper.
I've always
there,
I've
so
always
that's also
wondered.
nice.
Nice things
I-
are.
I've always wondered, given you're a Reading fan, who your kind of Premier League team is, and
It's not
it's
Liverpool.
It's Liverpool.
That's for sure. It's
Ah.
definitely not
So
Liverpool.
what were you doing there for Champions League Day?
Well, if you hadn't guessed, a lot of my friends are from Liverpool.
Right.
So I was up there because they're Liverpool fans.
So what did you
and
do
I
in-
had nothing better to do.
Well, how
I
did
was actually supporting Real Madrid at the time.
Okay.
But there we go.
Great stuff. Right, let's get into this weekend's games without further ado. Starting off with Saturday's early kickoff, Leicester hosting Chelsea, two former Premier League champions who've fallen on tougher times, albeit Chelsea on their way back. Total goals is the market we're looking at here. The Spreadex 3.4 is the midpoint, 3.3 to sell, 3.5 to buy. So the total number of goals within the game. Are we going higher or are we going lower? 3, 2, 1. Yes.
Sweep.
What's going on here? Like we say it every week, Jack. Like the perception is that Chelsea are this like crazy side, but it's not really borne out in the numbers, is it?
It's not. No, it's not. I think it seems to boil down to that one game, that mad game at Wolves, which was 6-2. 17 in their 5 games away from home. As I said, 8 of them come in that one game. So you take that one out as an outlier and you've got 9 in 4. So it's a very low number. And this game looks like tough. I can't see how Leicester have been shorn of a lot of attacking talent. So for them to score is going to be a tricky one. They have scored in every home game, but only one. So I'd say for this to be 4 or more goals seems very, very unlikely, to be honest. And that's kind of the basis of what that lower is about. So I say it'll be interesting to see who Leicester can put out up front. Obviously, Vardy was out last time with a back injury. See if he can recover from that. But Ayew's definitely out. Daka's definitely out. Fatawi's definitely out. Buonanotte's a doubt as well. So if they're all missing, then this does look like a win to 0 for Chelsea, to be fair, and a low scorer. But yeah, lower is a pretty no-brainer for me.
Dan?
Completely agree. Like I actually have that written down here as well as Chelsea to win to 0. I think they seem to have settled down a little bit under Maresca. Like they haven't really scored like loads since the Brighton win, which was back in September. Obviously Maresca back at his old club. Not sure what kind of reception.
Yeah,
that's
it'll be
gonna get.
really interesting. Like it's such a funny one with him, where he delivered a title. He had one season there, but in a weird way didn't really massively endear himself to the fan
that's
base
what I
who
thought.
weren't that gutted to lose him. So I definitely don't think he'll get bad reception. It wasn't like
Indifferent, I'd say.
yeah, like probably a bit of a clap, a bit of like a cheers Enzo, like good to see you, but like the only thing is, which has kind of surprised me, that Steve Cooper's really losing his popularity right now. And so had this game been 3 weeks ago or something, I think they'd have been like, hi Enzo, but we're happy with Steve, so it's fine. Now I think there's probably a little bit of like, we wish you were still
What
here.
could have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to watch. I added that in because I don't really have anything more to say, so it just pads my section out a bit. But,
So did I.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah,
Job done.
I would almost go as far as saying in a Steve Cooper team, if the line is over 3, I'm always going to go lower. I mean, even though he's not necessarily the most offensive-minded manager, but he's pragmatic. Like he's someone who his teams rarely, if they're ahead in games, they rarely, keep the pedal to the metal. And if they're behind, they're not necessarily a team that concedes those chances. Like they are relatively solid. And I think at the moment with Chelsea, just going short on goals in all of their games seems to be the way to do it. But both Chelsea and Liverpool, the change of managers this season has had a massive impact in terms of the goal line within games. And even though we're kind of getting towards December now, it doesn't really seem to be reflected in the kind of goal lines across the board for them. So, yeah, it's almost like an auto sell, this one for me.
Yeah, the average of total goals in the Prem this season is under 2.5 now.
Is it?
So it's 2.48, so it's only just. But I think that's quite interesting, really, because that does make 3.4 midpoint look quite high, obviously.
Yeah.
I did do a bit of digging as well into finding out what the impact of the international break was on September and October, the first game back. Not an awful lot, to be fair, but there certainly wasn't a massive spike in goals. It wasn't dreadfully low, but yeah, there was a fair mix, and it was nothing like, there was no games that kind of went off the chart, which you'd probably expect to be the case with the travel that people have been doing. So yeah,
for sure. I think there was a stat last year where if you just blanket bet over 2.5 for every single team in the Premier League, you'd have won on every single team apart from Everton.
That's right. Yeah, so I think it's the same case this time. They're the only profitable team to go under this season as well, under 1.5, 2.5, 3.5.
Really? Right. Manchester City hosting Tottenham next up. City not in great shape following the injury, to put it mildly, of Rodri, although probably buoyed by the news that Pep Guardiola is set to sign a 1-year extension to his deal. Tottenham were in great shape and then did a Tottenham and lost at home to Ipswich Town. They got their first win in the top flight for quite a long time, since before Dan was born. So supremacy here. City, unsurprisingly, the favourites. The midpoint is 1.15, so lower here. Is a Tottenham win. It's a draw. It's also City winning by 1 goal.
Oh, we've got a lot in your pocket.
I feel like I've won the lottery. 3, 2, 1, higher or lower.
Ooh.
Like, this just feels like a bit of a freebie. And I do think, the City falling apart narrative has probably gone, obviously the results have been really, really bad, but they're not just going to continue to lose games. It's not as if the best team in Europe lose, the Ballon d'Or winner, but suddenly becomes really, really poor. And if you look through their games, it's important to remember that they were ahead against Brighton for long periods of that game and conceded twice late on. But it's back-to-back defeats. It's an absolute shellacking in the Champions League at the hands of Sporting and Victor Gyökeres. But albeit in that game as well, in the first half, they were by far the better side. Like, they're still doing it in flashes. The thing for me that really has me going lower here without having much issue with it is defensively they look really, really poor now. Like, they concede 4 against Sporting, 2 against Bournemouth, 2 against Brighton. And given how good Spurs are as an attacking side, I find it really hard not to imagine they're going to get some joy going forward. And if they had to score 1 or to score 2, then you're banking on City having to score 3 or 4 in order to cover the -1, which you need for this. So, yeah, I don't think it's as simple as like City just going to keep losing games. Like, I'm sure they will turn it around, and as important as Rodri is, it won't be long until they're winning games again. And if this had dipped under 1, it would be much more of a difficult decision to make, especially with City back at home. The defeats against Bournemouth and against Brighton and against Sporting all been on the road. But given Spurs' attacking strength, I'd be happy to have a bet on them scoring a couple. Well, at least scoring 1 or more, and that brings this into play. So I'm siding with Spurs. You're doing the same, Jack.
I am, yeah. I was actually expecting or hoping that the balance would have gone from the fact that we can actually take on Manchester City prior to the international break. I was thinking, we've actually be able to side with them after it, but it's not really happened. And I was surprised to see this, as you say, where we've got so many results in our pocket for this one, and we can still give City a single goal victory, and we still win. Look, they are massively missing those key players, and you're right. So that defensive issue that they've had for a while now has kind of got worse over the course of the season, and you'd be actually shocked if Spurs didn't score at least 1 here. So as you say, you're then looking at City to score 3, which, well, of course they can, but I absolutely am happy to have that those results we talked about on side and sell this, go lower.
Dan?
Yeah, I completely agree with both of you. I think on the last show you said this season all you've done is back the favourites, so here I am going against that rule.
Well done, mate.
But it is the over 1. I think had it been 0.9, I probably would have gone for a City win, to be perfectly honest. But it's just that far over the edge. I just think like City can't really afford to lose this. Not just because of the form they're in, but Liverpool have a relatively easy game this week, which we'll come on to. If Liverpool get the 3 points there, City are going to be like quite a way off the top. So I really don't think they can afford to lose. But yeah, just echo what you guys said. I think Tottenham score. So with that kind of thinking, you're almost looking at this being a 2, which, well, we already are looking at this being a 2, aren't we? Because it's 1.15. I just don't see. I don't see City winning by 2 or more. Really.
Yeah, it's one you don't want to take on, is it? Let's
For
face
sure.
it. And so with Spurs, you will literally get anything.
Yeah.
So why not have all those positive results and even a slightly negative result on side with this one? So yeah, the line is very attractive.
For sure. With the Brighton game that you mentioned as well.
Yeah.
Like I watched that game in the pub after a strong Reading performance away at Stevenage, and I thought Brighton could have had way more. Like in the second half, they were the team that were asking all of the questions. And deservedly got their win, but I think they could have had 3 or 4. So you're completely right that I think Tottenham will get chances. And
City kept one clean sheet at home, haven't they? And that was against Southampton last time out. And like I say, you know that Spurs have got more going forward, and it's kind of game that suits Spurs. And as we've seen over the last few years as well, including last season, it was 3-3 here, wasn't it? Spurs have got a win in the last couple of seasons as well. So the attack that they've got and the way they go about it, then this should be plenty of goals in it. So we'll see how they land.
Absolutely. Should be a great game for the neutral. On to another game that should be quite a good game for the neutral as well, Southampton versus Liverpool. I might have shown my hand earlier with regards to this one, but we're looking at total goal minutes. This is with SpreadX, the total cumulative minutes in which goals are scored. So for high lines, if you're going to go high, you want late goals and many goals, few goals and early goals for lower. 174.5.
Ooh.
174.5.
What do we make of that line?
Let's see. 167 to sell, 182 to buy with SpreadX. Are we going higher or lower? Saints against Liverpool.
Top v bottom. Bottom v top.
Bottom hosting top.
Yes.
3, 2, 1. Oh, lads, we're agreeing again.
We're so friendly today.
It's 3 lowers in a row for me. That's got to be the first time in a long time.
Daniel, you take us away.
Well, you said it's bottom versus top, and you're not wrong. But it's also the team that have scored the fewest goals in the league versus the team that have conceded the fewest goals in the league. So, not that this is the market that we're playing, but Liverpool to win 0 looks pretty nice to me. Little double there if you want the Chelsea one as well. I just look at this game and think Liverpool win quite easily. Goal in the first half, maybe a goal early in the second half, 2-0 win. They've got Real Madrid in the week next week, so I think I hate talking about that kind of stuff because they probably are just focused on this and that's it, because I'm pretty sure they're already through in the Champions League, right? But that might be on their mind, so they'd prefer to get this done early. A couple goals in, as I say, 1 in the first half, early in the second half. This makes up about 90, half profit. Lovely.
Perfect. Jack?
Yeah, I think we've talked about it quite a lot, haven't we? That Liverpool this season under Slot is basically a more controlled version. Very much efficient. They've been ruthless this season. Superb start in all competitions as well. And Southampton haven't really been thumped, have they? They lost 3-0 at home to Manchester United, but that was kind of turned on a missed penalty. And they do concede a lot of shots. They have got the worst expected goals against at home in the league as well, although they've only conceded 8. But that's not a great look going against this Liverpool side, who I do expect, what you've now said there, for that to play out, especially with Salah rested, of course, didn't have to go away with Egypt, so he's fresh into this one. So Liverpool control games, and I see this as the perfect opportunity to follow that template really here. Keep Southampton at arm's length, who have struggled in front of goal, and go and pick them off. I say a 2-0 win again. It seems to be my favourite win for Liverpool this season. It just seems to be that one that works well for them. And for this line to hit, really, it's a relatively high line. You either need a landslide victory, a high-scoring draw, or Liverpool to want to kind of kick on and score late. And I don't see that being the case. And as I say, this one looks like a 2-up, and then the trademark peter out to happen. And you look at all the away games for Liverpool this season, all their wins have all gone under. 1-0 at Palace, 9 minutes total. 2-1 at Wolves, 162, 3-0 at Man United, 133, and 2-0 at Ipswich, 125. So it all fits that criteria for this as a sell lower.
Great stuff. Yeah, I'm totally agreeing with you. I think Saints have come up against one like really strong defensive side. Well, two maybe strong defensive sides at home this season. Forest, they were beaten 1-0, and Everton, who don't concede many goals, and they won the game 1-0. Like it just Liverpool are so far in the Premier League this season the best side defensively in the whole league. We know that under Arne Slot, unlike previously when they get ahead in games, they're very, very happy just to defend their lead and not try and push on and get more. I think Liverpool to 0 is a bit of a kind of cheat code at the moment when it comes to a bit like Leeds in the Championship. So consistently winning games to 0, and they've conceded on the road this season just in 2 of their 5 games against Wolves and against Arsenal. So we've already beaten to 0 away from home United, Ipswich and Palace. I think this falls into that bracket. And as we say, if you're looking at just Liverpool total goal minutes, which I think is likely, that is an unbelievably high line for one team to cover, especially when they're a side who have shown this season that they're not really kicking on and trying to score as many as possible. So yes, we're all in agreement. Hopefully here we can disagree.
We'll see.
Ipswich Town hosting Manchester United.
Wow.
This is Ruben Amorim's first match in charge
Yeah, it is. I hadn't actually thought of that.
of United.
Yep.
You missed that news, did you? That
I
slipped
missed
under the
it,
radar
yeah.
a little bit, yeah.
The manager in the opposite dugout, Kieran McKenna, has previously been in the Old Trafford dugout as an assistant. There's rumoured to be on the list to replace Eric Ten Hag in the summer. Now still Ipswich Town manager. Ipswich fresh off that victory against Tottenham. They'll be hoping they can make it 2 from 2. United desperate for the Amorim reign to get off to a flying start. First match goal here, 31 to sell with Sporting Index, 34 to buy. So higher means that we want it to be 0-0 at 34 minutes. Lower, we want it to be a goal scored within the first half an hour. 3, 2, 1. Yes!
Difference of opinion.
And also, you're going against goals again. What's wrong with you?
I realised I just changed it as we were talking about the last market.
You went to Liverpool and you've been like influenced by Arne Slot, and you were like, let's
Reserved now.
Yeah.
Chilled. I have a question for you, actually. Man United's average time of first goal scored this season. Have a guess.
47.
No, 29.
57.
That's absolutely incredible.
That's unsustainable.
It is unsustainable, yeah. It's the highest in the league.
Is it?
57. Ipswich average time of first goal scored is 29.2. So
that's better.
That would be a small winner for you. It's a similar story with average time of conceding. Ipswich is over this line at 34.5 and United is 46. Those two are really what's done it for me here. I could easily see this coming, and I think this is just really difficult, to be perfectly honest. 32.5 is, as you can imagine, bang on the average for the league, as it basically is every week when we discuss this market. Will Ipswich come flying out, take the lead? Maybe. Will United? I'd say probably not.
Yeah.
And if they are to score first, it's likely going to be around this time, isn't it? So it's super hard. But maybe I've just done it to disagree with you guys.
Because you knew.
We'll see if that's smart.
Are you watching this game?
I'll do my best to.
It's going to be a tough watch for you. Isn't it? Half an hour, hoping nothing happens.
Maybe I'll tune in like the second half.
Yeah, when it's 3-2.
Yeah.
Jack?
I think this could be a bit of fun, this game. I generally do. I'm looking forward to seeing how Amorim sets up, what he's going to bring.
It's a bit of a nightmare first game for him, I think.
Yeah, it is.
High expectation against a side buoyed by their first win.
Yeah. Ipswich, they're obviously loving life back in the Premier League after such a very, very long time out of it. And look, they're having fun, and they've obviously had Liverpool early in the season there. The atmosphere is rocking there. And I think they'll see this obviously as a great opportunity to... The story, the party is all about Amorim coming to the Premier League, and they've got the brilliant opportunity. And newly promoted sides and the lower ranked sides, and they'd love the opportunity to go and bloody a nose of one of the giants, and this is a perfect opportunity to do that. As you say, off the back of a confident victory at Tottenham, they've got that monkey off the back as far as not having a win. We know how they play. They like to be aggressive. They like to play attacking football, especially at home. And I think Man United, he's not had a lot of time on the training pitch, has he? Because most of his squad have been on international duty. So what's he going to do? I think he's going to rely on them just having the better attacking talent to go and take the game to Ipswich and go and score and win. Obviously, Ruud van Nistelrooy kind of harnessed something in that squad. They suddenly started scoring goals. They started looking at attacking, albeit that was against fairly weak opposition, but this is similar fodder. So I think we should probably see a similar pattern to what we've seen with those games against Leicester from Nistelrooy and Man United. And Ipswich do concede plenty of goals. They're only behind Wolves as far as that's concerned. That's conceded 22 and 11. But they've got goals in them. And Delap's done a fantastic job coming into the Premier League, his first kind of real starting role there. So look, expect a response from United. Expect Ipswich to go and try and set the tone early. And I think that just means that we might get a fast, furious and exciting start.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Ipswich are just a team. I mean, again, I feel like we say this every time we talk about them, but they're a team that come out really quickly, and we see them consistently scoring goals early in games, even in games that they don't necessarily win. It was Smod's turn last time out against Tottenham, where he scored after 31 minutes. They're a team who, against against Brentford, we saw it in that high-scoring game. Smod again after 28 minutes. We see them take the lead against City. The only thing that slightly concerns me is reading about Amorim Sporting. Even though what we see in the Champions League suggests like a really high-scoring attacking manager, I've read a lot of things saying that they're they're a side that are generally pretty happy out of possession and don't concede many goals. But he's been there for like 3 days.
Yeah.
Like, how much impact would he actually have here? Like, in terms of personnel, probably there'll be an element of like, I have a feeling that Erik ten Hag wasn't the most popular person at Manchester United, so there might be a slight but they had that under Van Nistelrooy. So I think here, I'm focusing on Ipswich here, an Ipswich side who absolutely will take the game to United, who will not be playing for a 0-0 draw, and that should mean there's enough attacking threat. And also, United so consistently have been just bad defensively and a bit of a soft touch. So
fragile.
Yeah. Right. Let's move onwards to Newcastle against West Ham. This is the last game we're going to be covering before we do our naps. Last match goal is the market here. So when the last goal in a game will be scored, 69.5 the midpoint of Sporting Index. So lower would mean that the last game goal is scored before the 70th minute. Higher would mean a late goal. We're going higher or lower. 3, 2, 1. Okay, well at least that means between us.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have done well. The script, we follow the script well.
Take us away, Jack.
Well, the stats don't support this. Is my first part to say of it. This is just how I picture the game going. Monday night, it seems to me Newcastle don't tend to get many Monday night games like at home. So yeah, again, big atmosphere there. We know that they've been sort of weirdly strong at home this season, but not scoring goals. They've kind of done well, but not in their usual style. So they've only scored 5 at home, haven't they? So I generally see this as an opportunity for them to do some stat padding, and I think they can absolutely go to town on West Ham. And that means that they're going to keep the foot on the pedal, and like we've said before about sides that just will relax. I don't think they'll do that, and I think West Ham are there for the taking. I think Lopetegui's in all kinds of trouble. It's not working out for him at West Ham at all. The fans are already very disappointed with how things have gone. They've been turgid. Their last 2 away performances have been absolutely terrible. 3-0 at Forest, 4-1 at Spurs. And that Spurs performance, I know Newcastle and Spurs are obviously different style of side, but I just see a similar kind of pattern, a similar kind of result. This was 4-3 last season. And I just think that Newcastle are starting to click a little bit over the last 2 or 3 weeks, especially in the forward areas. Isaac scoring goals. He'll be disappointed with that midweek debacle. But they'll have a great opportunity here against West Ham, who just look a little bit all over the place for me. I think so that result last season, we saw 3 goals scored after this midpoint. So again, I just think we're getting quite a lot of minutes on our side here with the usual 5 or 6 minutes of added on time at the end of this. I'm getting about half an hour for that late goal. So yeah, for me, I just feel that Newcastle go for it, keep going for it, and there will be late goals.
Dan?
Yeah, interesting, because I've got here, I'd usually be a buyer at this line because of the added time that we get. It does, as you say, make it sort of half an hour-ish here. But I think we've got 2 sides here that are struggling in front of goal, really. Although you are right, in the last 3 games between these two sides, there's been a goal scored after the 89th minute, which is sort of alarm bells if you're going to rely on the numbers and be in our position.
It's a bit alarm belly, isn't it?
It is an alarm belly. Alarm belly. But I think things are completely different now. Like those last 3 games, there was loads of goals in the game. Two sides that, I'm suggesting are very different now. West Ham aren't scoring loads of goals. Newcastle aren't scoring loads of goals. They've both scored 13 this season, with only 5 teams scoring fewer goals. Although Newcastle have scored 7 of those 13 in the second half. West Ham have scored just 4. I think, similar to my rationale for the Liverpool game, Newcastle will go 1-2 up early-ish, and that'll be it. So, completely disagree with you, mate.
Yeah, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I agree with Dan. I think this is...
Getting wise in your old age.
Yeah, exactly. These are, again, like Lopetegui under West Ham, it's just an immediate red flag for me, alarm belly, when it comes to goals. Newcastle, we've seen this season, have been pretty solid defensively, struggling for attacking output.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. The only thing that worries me a little bit is this could be a game where it's really tight, and it's tight late, and then the game opens up in the last 20 or so as both teams look to turn the screw. But I don't know, it's not my favourite market. This market feels like it's a bit finger in the airy. Alarm belly, finger in the airy, red flaggy. You know what I mean?
Finger in the airy sounds like an Italian player that's come over and had a huge season.
It's like, have you heard the story about when Gazza went out drinking one night, and he was like, I went to this really nice Italian bar last night. No, like, where was it? He was like, it's called Al Baroni.
Oh, yeah, nice.
That's all bar one.
Yeah.
Paul. Right, on to our naps. Nap. Let's start with the Nap King, whose crown has slipped.
Slipped, yeah, but I'm going to
you're still the man.
Refit. I'm going for another negative one. Well, not negative, but you know what I mean. I'm going for a sell, which is strange for me. Selling headed goal minutes in Wolves and Fulham.
Yeah.
Wolves are one of 3 teams yet to score a headed goal in the Premier League this season, which I know you're going to say is unsustainable.
Yes.
And you may well be right, but I hope not this week. Fulham have scored just once. Fulham are also the only team in the league that are yet to score from a set piece, which sort of compounds my point. You think of headed goals, you think of how they're going to come, corners maybe. Well, Wolves have had the fewest corners of any side in the Premier League this season.
He's got this covered. He's been all over whoscored.com stats.
I have been all over whoscored.com, and to be fair, if anyone is actually...
When I asked what you're doing over international break, you said you can't remember it because you were so in the zone.
I've taken it quite personally that my last snap didn't win. I thought that it was sustainable, and I thought I'd just go the whole season winning every week.
I've got so many different Twitter memes in my head now. I've got you in front of the board.
Yeah.
It's with Philadelphia. I've got you. I took it personally. Michael Jordan.
We need to get these made up, don't we?
Getting your crown, realigned like a true royal.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't really think either of these sides are set up to score headers, and I think they'll just score with their feet.
They score with their feet. You done?
Yeah.
Jack.
I hope they do score with their feet.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Same game.
Oh.
Same game.
Oh, hell yeah.
I was going elsewhere, but the market wasn't open for one of the things I had in mind. Virgil van Dijk headed goal minutes, if you want to check that one out. I haven't had a look at this moment in time. And also the player I did have pinpointed initially got injured. So let's move on to this one, which is Fulham Wolves, and I'm going to steal one of your Nap trademark.
Oh, fine.
No.
Not fine.
Trademark.
Corners.
Penalty.
Oh.
Whoa!
Yes, I'm going for Fulham.
Can't score them with your head, I don't think.
You cannot. Well, it's not been done yet, I don't
think so.
Fulham penalty goal minutes.
Nice.
10 is the midpoint, and I am going higher. Basically, they scored 2 penalties in this game last season. No team has won more than their 2 penalties so far this season. No team has given away more than Wolves' 2 penalties so far this season. The referee is Mr. Rob Jones.
What a man.
Mm-hmm. And he has given 3 penalties in his last 4 Premier League games.
Ooh, wow.
So let's go with it. Penalty goal minutes, but for Fulham.
Yeah.
Midpoint 10.
Out of interest, do you know what the match line is?
It was, I think, Wolves was like 3 or 6. So, I think so. You're looking at about 16, 17.
Yeah, nice. I've got the Spider-Man meme now because
Yeah.
we're both on the same game.
Yeah. So many.
There we go.
I'm going to the Championship.
Yeah.
I'm going to the game that for some reason was just totally ignored.
Because you knew your nap was going to cover this game.
You
Live on Sky Friday night.
Nice.
Plymouth Argyle hosting Watford.
Well, Rooney's going to be preoccupied, surely.
With what?
I'm a celebrity.
It's clashing.
Manchester United legends going head to head.
I didn't hear who Plymouth Argyle were playing.
Watford.
Okay,
Wayne
yeah.
Rooney versus
Correct.
Tom Cleverley.
Clevs.
Wayne Rooney's Plymouth Argyle are one of the weirdest teams I've ever seen in football. Where away from home, their attacking output is like, I've never seen anything like it. They've only scored 2 goals away from home. Both were like long-range screamers. One was effective the other day against Derby. But apart from that, they not only do they not score, they don't get near the opposition like at all. And yet at home, they beat Sunderland 3-2. They've had a 3-3 draw against Preston. Had a 3-1 win over Luton. 2-1 win over Blackburn. Like, they're a completely different team, and I cannot work out for why. It was the same last season. Last season we saw them beat Norwich 6-2 at home. Do you remember that?
No.
No. We saw them beat Cardiff 3-1. They had a 3-3 draw against Watford. They had a 3-3 draw against Birmingham, a 3-1 win over Huddersfield, a 3-2 win over Rotherham, a 3-3 draw that I was at against Middlesbrough. Bizarre. Like, how this works, I don't really understand it. But they've got a Watford team coming to town who, under Cleverley, have a real attacking focus. Like, it's pretty vibes football, I would say. And we've already seen Watford win 6-2 on the road away at Sheffield Wednesday. 4-1 defeat at Norwich. Remember that?
I remember that one. Yeah. I remember that one.
A 3-2 defeat at Millwall. And they've shipped 3 goals against Preston North End and Luton to 0. Surely there are going to be goals in this game. Like, surely. Firstly, in Georgie Chakvetadze, I think Watford have probably the next Championship player that Premier League fans are going to hear about. He's not as young as some of the other kind of exports we've seen in the past, but he is unbelievably good on the ball. Like, his finishing maybe leaves a bit to be desired, but it kind of, any game with him on the pitch, it feels like has to descend into a certain amount of chaos because he's just so good. And we know that Argyle at home, their games are generally fairly chaotic. I'm going for goals cubed here.
Nice. Oh, sorry, I did interrupt you, but I was going to say,
Yeah.
you can say his name better than I can. But,
Chakvetadze.
yeah, bearing in mind that they got beat 4-1, I would say he was probably the most eye-catching player I've seen in the flesh at Norwich this season.
Yeah.
By some distance, really, to be fair. And there's been some decent performances, but he was exceptionally the game where his team got battered. But anyway,
Yes.
sorry.
No, I'm glad to have it kind of rubber stamped. I've done goals cubed a couple of times already this season. We haven't got over the line. It's one of those markets where, like, you're going to lose because, you know, the total goals line to buy is 3.15, right? 3.15 times cubed is a lot lower than 64. But the reason why the goals cubed line is higher is because obviously when you go above it, it kind of spirals very, very quickly. And this, to me, just feels like a game that could easily, like, we've already seen so many of both these teams' games go well above 4, which is what we need in order to break even.
Yeah.
So it comes with the risk that, like, you're aware that you're backing like a heavily odds against shot. Like, the chances are, you know, in all likelihood, you're going to bet more losers when you bet goals cubed, but the winners will basically pay higher. It's like betting a big price horse, you know. And I think there's fair reason to think that the goal line here should be higher than 3.15, and therefore the goals cube line should be higher than 64. So Watford Plymouth live on Sky Friday night under the lights, ignored by Dan. Should be a great game. 64 to buy is the way I'm playing it. Anything more to add?
No, Wayne Rooney, interesting.
Remember the name.
On social this week, do you think he was overrated as a player?
Absolutely, so categorically not overrated.
Completely agree.
He is, I would say, almost one of the most criminally underrated footballers, elite footballers of all time, because people seem to forget, because of the player that he became, and, you know, because he played so early, he aged relatively quickly, and his mobility was lost for a time. But there have been very few elite players who've had such an incredible career arc in terms of, at times, when he was a teenager, he was like the most explosive, best goal-scoring striker he could possibly have. He then became an absolute workhorse and creator who gave Ronaldo the platform to do what he did. And then Ronaldo left and he went back to being this unbelievable goal scorer again. He is sensational. And anyone that says that Wayne Rooney is overrated doesn't know ball.
Oh, wow.
Right. There we go. There we have it. Thank you to Dan and to Jack for sharing their tips, thoughts and insight. Wayne, I expect a check in the post. Thank you to Spreadex Sporting Index for their sponsorship. As ever, make sure that you sign up for an account if you don't have one already. The link is in the description, in the show description, and there is also a new customer offer for those who haven't already got an account with them. We'll be back again next week. In the meantime, make sure you check out oddschecker for your fixed odds betting needs and who scored for all of your stats analysis ahead of choosing your bets. Remember that losses can exceed your initial deposit with spread betting. Enjoy the weekend's football and please ensure that you're gambling responsibly.